intelligencesquared.com.
When I was about 15 or 16 years old, I actually got married to writing. I had a ceremony.
I was wondering, got married.
I did. I was a young bride. I was a young bride, but I knew that I had found the love of my life, and I didn't want to waste any time getting busy with it. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, Paul, but I had a ceremony in my bedroom right underneath all my pop star idol posters, and I lit a candle. And I married writing, and I promised to dedicate my life to this craft.
And it's interesting because there's a scene in a Truffaut movie where a young little boy lights a candle under a picture of Balzac.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, well, this is because I grew up watching Truffaut in my very sophisticated family of Christmas tree farmers.
It's an early,
it must
you
have
didn't
been,
know.
We must have rented that video from the library when I was a kid. But it's interesting that you say that because I had found, when I was a teenager, I found a quote from Balzac that said that in order to be successful, the artist must labor like a coal miner buried under a collapsed roof. You know, I have these memories. If there was one, you know, there's that famous kind of party conversation question that people ask, you know, if you could have a dinner party with anybody in the world in history, who would you bring? You know, if there was one dinner party that I could return to, it would be any number of these events of Gilbert family reunions on my dad's side of the family, back when they were all unrecovered alcoholics. They were the most incredible, wild evenings, you know, and all of these guys, and my grandmother too, but my grandfather, my uncle Nick, my great-grandfather, Gia, who spoke with like Dickensian prose, who was a Philadelphia lawyer and a huge drunk, they would just get plastered, and then they would be so inappropriate, and they would tell the most outrageous stories and outdo each other and compete. And the thing that I learned at that table was that storytelling, no one's going to give you the floor. You know, you have to earn it. You have to earn it by telling the best story. You know, so I was around these masterful storytellers who knew that once you lost the attention of the people, they were gone. It was it. They had this. The audience was so tight, and they would forget that I was there, and I would be an 11-year-old girl hearing the most inappropriate things.
Tell us about Tom Waits. Tell us about some of the early books.
I was drawn to unusual characters, and the wonderful thing about being an American writer is that, you know, there's no shortage of them there. And I've often wondered how one would be like a Belgian writer. No offense to your wonderful family.
No, my parents do live in Belgium.
But
you would be speaking a lot about the difference between Flemish and Walloon.
I guess so, right?
Which is important. I mean, it is important.
But, you know,
I mean, in Flemish, you know, when you want to say "I love you," do you know how you say it?
Does it?
Ik hou van jou. It's not the most romantic thing to say.
This is why I went to Italy instead of to.
I was just about to say, yeah, why not Brussels?
Why not Brussels? To explore the romantic. But anyway, the eccentrics. So you know, I was drawn to that, and I dated weird people, and I didn't want a real job, and I worked in a diner, and found myself to be the luckiest person in the world to get this job at this diner in Philadelphia. And I remember coming home when I got the job and saying to my sister, who had a very fancy boyfriend at the time, I got a job working at the American Diner on 42nd Street in Chestnut in Philadelphia. Can you imagine? I get to be there every day. And the guy that she was dating said, I remember what it was like to be 19. And I thought, no, you don't, you big jerk, you know? But I was just so excited because working at the counter.
Stories.
Everyone.
Stories.
Everyone. And then becoming a bartender later and realizing that everyone has a story that they're dying to tell you. They're dying to tell you. And the best preparation that I could have had for being a journalist later was that trajectory of Gilbert granddaughter to diner waitress to bartender to journalist. And recognizing that if you just let people talk, they have incredible things that they're desperate to tell you.
I must say, when I saw the movie recently and I saw Julia Roberts saying, my name is Liz Gilbert, I felt like saying, no, it isn't. I'm sorry. I happen to know that Liz Gilbert, this is not right. But how does it feel to now be featured in that movie as Julia Roberts?
Two things. One is that I was in the airport at JFK on my way to Europe 10 days ago, and this woman comes up to me, this very New York character, it's the sort that I'm really used to from having lived in New York for a long time, sort of little old lady with a perm. And she comes over with her friend and she says, "Excuse me, honey, I gotta ask you a question. Do you have something to do with Eat, Pray, Love?" And I said, "Yeah, I, as a matter of fact, do have something to do with Eat, Pray, Love." And she nudges her friend and she said, "See, I told you. That's that girl who wrote that book based on that movie." You know?
Did you pick up the phone and say, Jose needs to be Javier Bardem?
I did insist on that. And I also volunteered to do some of the love scenes. And I wasn't even going to charge them. I wasn't even going to make them pay me to do it. We all got such an upgrade in this movie. We all got bumped from coach to business class with who's portraying us. It was really, it was quite generous of them to do that too.
Javier Bardem did spend time with Jose.
He did, and it shows in the film.
I think so too.
You can see it, and you can feel it, and it was a little love story they had for one evening, and he made a big effort to. He came from Spain.
A love story for one evening between your husband
yes,
and...
whose real name is Jose, and Javier, and I call him Javier. We're very close. We're practically married. Sometimes I start thinking about him and then I forget how to speak. It's unbelievable how handsome that man is.
I mean, he really, having seen the movie last week,
Yeah.
he really is tasty.
He is.
Yeah.